Back for another week at the Messy Middle headquarters here. We're actually all in New York this week, and Frank is away. Um, we have a special guest, AJ Glassberg. Teddy, let's hit the intro, and then I will do the introduction to AJ, and we get into the conversation.
Yeah, let's do it. Cool.
Wow, I always love that intro. It's Frank's done a good job. Let's praise him while he's away, and when he gets back, let's just make fun of him. But congrats to Frank and Julie on their nuptials. So today we're back in the messy middle. Continues to be I think a fascinating conversation that we've had over the last 6 months of doing the show. Very excited today to have AJ Glassberg here with us. I've actually known AJ for 23 years, something like that, long time. AJ is a serial entrepreneur. He's built and sold businesses, split his time between LA and New York City for a dozen or so years. All of us had a nice Passover dinner last night, so I think we are still getting off of the fun of that. But we're going to cover today with AJ his story, a little bit of how he decides on team members in the messy middle, what he would have done differently, and what he's working on now, and if it's still messy or not.
By the way,
So
thanks for the
welcome,
cake,
AJ.
AJ. It was really good yesterday. And
I
Gabriel
got,
I'm
keeps
stuffed.
messing
Still
that
stuffed.
up. He's thanking me for the cake, but it was you who brought it.
for some
Yeah,
reason,
well, yeah, I think there was a lot of food last night. A lot of food.
it was a lot of food. It was a good Passover. It was a good holiday celebration. And we were actually the only three entrepreneurs there. It was nice to be in the minority of entrepreneurs versus people who have real jobs.
It's nice to talk to sane people nowadays, now and again, right?
Yeah, yeah. So AJ, give us a little bit of history of why you decided to become an entrepreneur, and then flash forward many years into the future of Novele, which you started,
Mm.
and your journey through that experience. And let's get into it.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know why I became an entrepreneur. I mean, I think I used to think I knew why, and then as I got older, I somewhat realized that I was kind of nervous to go get a real job. And so I figured kind of being in control of my own destiny was like a really good path through life. But I started out actually with you, starting our
That's
first
right.
company
That's
together.
right. We did.
We had a lot of fun. We made no money.
No money.
Spent the money. We made no money, but we learned a lot. And I think that was I think that was the first real world kind of punch in the face on why you really have to think things out before you just go head first into them.
I mean, we were
Um,
19, what, 20 years old?
What was
20,
the
21?
business? What was the company about?
it was an entertainment technology company, and we managed kind of the online presence of musicians, and it was
Oh,
mostly rappers. So we worked with Wale, we worked with Diggy Simmons, Violator Management. Um, it, you know, Again, I already said this, but like it was a lot of fun. It's not that we didn't have any fun. It was a blast. But I think for me and Gabriel, could hopped in here too. But for me, that was kind of the first time I realized that I like the art side of stuff and not necessarily the business side,
mhm.
right? Um, and so I
What do you
clearly didn't.
what do you mean by the art side of the stuff? Do you mean like art side of the music, or
Yeah, like I like
uh,
actually, I mean, we've known each other for a long time, so I do have a history playing, instruments and music, and I like the music creation. I like actually creating the art. I
You
realized
didn't
that,
like the music business.
yeah, the music business is horrible. I would never do it again. Which is ironic because the next company which I started, which ended up being acquired, was another entertainment technology company. And I was on the
But
founding
that
team of that company.
and so okay. So your first messy middle, I could argue, then was very similar to my first messy middle, which was after we did Decade together, which was the music company.
Yeah.
How were you able to get through, you know, doing the first company to actually landing at the second company? And the second company was in LA, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I had a kind of an interim project going on, which in hindsight, you kind of you realize why things didn't work out. That's what ended up getting me into this new entertainment technology company because I started another software company with a co-founder, and we were just way too early. And the product market fit was from the consumer side was right, but because it was kind of like a B2B to B2B to C play, and like that getting the
What type of
integration
company was it?
so it's actually still relevant today. Like I hope someone does it. We developed a software platform that allowed for any time you swipe your card anywhere, we could capture that receipt and store it in the cloud. And so a little different than just taking a picture, or if you're on like the Square point of sale, like you get a receipt because you're in that ecosystem. This would work anywhere. The problem was, and we were talking to some really big customers about this, like some really big, like maybe like office supply stores and whatnot. But the problem is that, we're going back well over a decade, and we had to integrate our API into literally every single point of sale device. And this is before kind of over the air updates. And so the barrier to entry for our technology was just too high. Also made some errors and kind of raising early stage funds. But it was a really great piece of technology. We raised enough to allow us to build the platform with just 2 people, or 3 people. But it was one of those things where it's like, if we got the first integration and got it rolled out, we probably could have raised a lot more capital. But it was just the pain point of integrating into every single point of sale in every single store. Even for a pilot, it was just very, very difficult. But what's really interesting about that company is that that's where I met the co-founder of the other entertainment technology company that brought me out to Los Angeles. And so, I don't think that pathway would have, I know for a fact that pathway wouldn't have happened without that messy middle, if you will.
So what year was this?
Started that in 2012, and then worked on it for about a year. And
so well over 10 years, 11 years.
Yeah.
I'm curious because I want to try to, I don't know if you can tap into those like feelings at that time, what was going on in your head. I always want to get into the transitions from one thing to another and understand what was going through people's heads basically. Yeah. And if there was any specific thing that pulled you to the next thing, or you were struggling to figure out what to do, how to do it. Yeah. Can you maybe recall some of those?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think generally I'm a different type of entrepreneur because I am not a work on something for 6 months type of guy and then move on to the next thing. Like when I start stuff, I usually take a 10-year outlook, and I start pretty complicated things. This is kind of the one project or company that I think I probably worked on for too long. And the reason that I went on to the next thing is because there was just no path forward. I had no choice. I had to start making some money, like real money. It's like you can only bang your head against the cement wall enough before you realize that the wall's going to win, right? And so it was kind of a really it wasn't it was a kind of an easy transition because I was really excited about this new thing. The other thing wasn't really going anywhere. It's always a little it's always a little heartbreaking to
Was it easy?
kind of have to
Was
part ways.
was it really easy? Like you can reflect on it now because it's been 12 years, right? But
Yeah.
was it really easy? And like I kind of want to fast forward as well.
Yeah.
But like put yourself in the moment there. Like you're going from New York to LA, you're leaving East Coast, right? Which you only lived in the East Coast your whole entire life.
I love
Um, um, so so was it, you know, was it more of your youth or is it more of like your your fear, or is there not that much fear in this? Was it the kind of like, I'm ready to just do it because I need the money. I need to make this happen. Let's go make a change. It's not happening here. Let, you know,
I
let's
think there was,
transition to the West Coast.
I think there was more excitement in this transition because the group of guys I was starting this new company with were industry veterans. They sold, their first company for $3.2 billion. I was like, all the issues I had before, I thought were not really going to be issues going forward because I had the seasoned team around me, right? Again, hindsight is 2020, but again, I think it was one of the easiest transitions. I didn't have a choice. I had to either go and work on something else that we, could get out there or go and, get a job. Because at this point in our careers, Gabriel, we did not have any exits or, anything like that. So, it's one of these things where like you kind of just have to let life take over and see where you go. But onto LA. So we went out to LA, started this entertainment technology company. That ended up being acquired in 2017. I won't really get into what we did there. But from there, I started what is still today, maybe my most proud company. That's a company called Novele, which makes lithium-ion based energy storage systems for dense urban infrastructures like New York or San Francisco. That was my first foray into hardware. Getting
It's been
into
hard.
that was, yeah, no pun intended either. I mean, hardware is hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
That was one of these things where, I was ready for a new challenge after the company in LA. And I kind of saw that the company was going to be acquired, and I hopped into building Novele full steam ahead, not realizing how hard it would be. But we came out. Well, I mean, we were working on battery energy storage, behind the meter battery energy storage before Tesla came out with the Powerwall.
So this,
so
and what
no
year
one
is it? This is like
understood
20, what year is this? 2015, 2014?
Yeah, so I started the concept for this company while I was still at the other company. But this was, let's just say 2017 when that other company was acquired. When we were really out, talking with customers and what we were going to take to market. It was tough. The explaining to a customer why they needed a product in their building before they understood why they needed that product in their building was really, really hard. And by the time we got to the point where people started to figure it out, COVID hit. And that's where my messy middle really, really begins.
And so it's kind of a different messy middle than what a lot of people
Totally
on the program have gone through before, because a lot of the messy middles are when something ends versus when something is still in process. So your messy middle, in theory, was Novele's running for almost 4 years at this point,
Yep.
5 years almost. You went through Techstars in Dubai. You raised money. BRK Ingalls, an investor. You have what seems like to everybody in the world an outside success. You're there. And now it's kind of like, holy shit, like we've got some money, we've got a product, COVID hit, we don't know what the hell's going to happen because the office market is just decimated. How did you emotionally handle that? And, we have a little hint here of, you hired a CEO, but how did you get to the point from, the world is ending, quite literally, COVID, and my business could be ending, to, holy shit, I hired an incredible CEO, and now the business is in a better place today?
Yeah. Well, I will say, I think I just as a person matured immensely over these 4 years. When the week COVID hit, we had a $15 million term sheet that fell apart for Series A. We were going to take product to market that year. We had, when that fell apart and COVID was starting to run, we only had, 4 months of runway in the bank. So like the writing was on the wall. If we don't get something done here.
And you were in LA still, right? You were in LA still, right?
That was still in LA.
Yeah, we were in LA still. And for the past 4 years, I was kind of bi-coastal between New York and LA. But, it was an interesting time because, we sold to and still sell to commercial real estate developers and building owners and managers and big banks and, large asset owners like that. But, over COVID, the entire pipeline basically either got put on hold or just dried up completely as some of these people went out of business. But we knew we had something. So I couldn't just let this die. This is one of those things which is very different from 10 years ago when I started the company and was clearly had no path. This was I know this has a path. I know this could be successful. I cannot let this die. And so essentially I took the next, couple years, it was 2 years, kept the company alive. I tried to get some deals done with some big groups that I'll remain, well, let's not name them here. But we just really couldn't get anything done. And then I finally decided
we like to name and shame. We sometimes like to name and shame.
I'm not going to name and shame these guys, but let's just say there's some big Silicon Valley hardware networking companies that we tried to get some stuff done with.
There's only a couple of them. Come on, we'll go through the list.
There's only a couple of them. So, it's just the process of elimination. You'll figure it out eventually. But I finally said, okay, I need for myself, I need to kind of remove myself from this, and I need to bring on an entirely new management team. We need new blood. We need, a just new energy in the company. I mean, we were, as you can imagine, we didn't lose anyone, but we were all pretty beat up by this point, right? And when COVID hit and we had this term sheet, we had an unrealized pipeline of about $1 billion that just dried up like that. And thinking of needing to rebuild that was, sticking my hand in a pile of ants kind of sounded better than doing that, so I found I'm not one of these guys who believes in fate and everything, but I talked to two guys. You
don't believe in
guy,
fate?
I don't know. Maybe I do. Maybe I do believe in fate.
Entrepreneurs kind of have to, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think entrepreneurs are kind of, yeah, you're right. I mean, we're all kind of a little romantic, and we're all kind of borderline depressed all the time.
Delusional.
Yeah, a little delusional. Well, a lot of delusional. But
we've got 45 viewers here, so it's it's better than
perfect.
40.
Yeah. so made a great CEO, pulled him out. He was a big real estate developer in New York City, about a little older than me, but relatively the same age. Pulled him out of his partnership, and we said, let's go and do this together. And what we ended up doing is, because we wanted to kind of start this from fresh, right? We had product, we had engineered products that obviously we ended up improving on because we also had to rebuild supply chains. But we said, let's kind of make this a new company. And so we recapped the company, and he really became a partner, brought in a CFO. We recently just brought on a CTO from Faraday Future, and we poached about another roughly dozen engineers from there as well.
So what did you feel? Like
Yeah.
This is the outcome. We've got the outcome.
Yeah.
We had, okay, you've spent 5 years in this thing, COVID hit, and your world was over. Emotionally going through that experience as an entrepreneur, even as a post-exit entrepreneur, and like three questions that I'm going to have. But first, I want to start with, like, how are you emotionally handling yourself, and what type of tools did you put, into use to say, I mean, you basically had to convince the new team and CEO that there's value in a worthless entity almost.
Where did you find that energy also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, like,
it goes back to the, like I said earlier, I don't give up. I don't quit easily. I mean, the only times that I've moved on is where there was absolutely no path forward. I put my blood, sweat, tears, literal blood into the building this company. So, I'm very passionate about what we're building. I'm very passionate about the positive impact we can have on the built environment. But that was hard because I in my soul, I knew I had to bring on new leadership. But it's also like you're taking your baby and you're essentially saying, please don't kill it. Now, I'm very fortunate that, we're all very close. I'm, the executive chairman, and I help everywhere I need to, which today is still a lot, but we're perfectly aligned on where we're going to go and what we're doing. But, even still to this day, it's both exciting where you see something that I started this company, and someone else and a team of other people are turning this into reality. It feels kind of magical, but it's also at the same time you're like you're kind of like, don't forget about me, right? At the same time you're thinking, don't forget about me.
Oh, you're hard to forget. So
thank you, appreciate that.
But we're still not getting to the crux of this. So
just ask me what you want to ask, and I'll tell you. Hit me right now.
So did you start the company like alone? Was it only you, Novele, or you had a co-founder?
So I had a one co-founder. But
because I'm curious what happened between that relationship during COVID and in this transition. How was that?
I mean, we're still close. I've known him for a very long time. But it's one of these things where, again, I said, Charles, who's our CEO, and these other guys, like, come on, build a company and do what you must do with the team. Now, there's no beating around the bush that I am the only reason this company survived, because I am stubborn and I couldn't see this fail. But the co-founder is still, he's still there. He's taken on a much more focused software role than kind of executive management of the company. Gabriel, I know you really want to ask a hard question. Just hit me with it.
So during Novele, in the many years that you've been running Novele, financially, all of us, we're pretty upfront, about where we stand financially. Did you have to, your messy middle, again, as I said, it's different than other people's messy middle because you have a company running in the background from the entirety of this last messy middle. You did start another company in between that, which we could say, you built and you did sell. So, but like,
but I made no
how
money.
do you handle? You made no money.
You
agreed.
transacted.
I transacted.
You touch a lot of money. Yeah, that's important.
I transacted.
I mean, you raised money for it, and
I did.
And you sold it. It was a real business. It was part of the NFT era. Teddy, Frank, and I, we did a little NFT project as well. When you look at that, and then as you look at what you're doing now, what would you do differently from a financial perspective? Look, we're all post-exit founders, but we're not all post-economic founders at this point.
Yeah. What would I do differently? Oh man, I don't know. It's hard for me to answer that question. What I would classify as the Web3 company that was started, I think had legs. I think the timing was unfortunate. I think we were fortunate enough to sell it, but again, it was one of these things where I couldn't stick with that to see it financially viable. I had to go back and help focus Novele, and also really wanted to do this other kind of mobility endeavor, which I'll call it at this point, endeavor.
We can talk about it a little bit, can't we?
We can talk about it a little bit, but you
didn't answer my question though. We're getting to
I think generally speaking, the whole COVID period was financially miserable for me. Let's just put it that way. It was, there's just no beating around the bush. It's like one of the reasons that we started the Web3 company is because we thought this might be a somewhat quick financial windfall for a bunch of people who were involved. It was a good product. It was, we built it. It worked. But again, if we did it 6 months earlier, we probably would have been. I would say it's very similar to your SPAC, but on a much smaller scale. If it was 6 months earlier, it would have worked, right? And so I think I'm finally now at the point where I'm starting to feel a little bit more okay, my finances are kind of getting back on track. But
and you gave us a little hint about sort of the next thing, and I agree from the timing perspective. The SPAC, and our viewers know a lot of our history, so we don't need to get into it. But yes, from a timing perspective, as entrepreneurs, we try to be sometimes opportunistic, and when you're opportunistic, usually these opportunities don't always come through. In fact, I'm trying to imagine from any of the entrepreneurs that I know, how many of them jumped into something that was a craze and actually ended up making a boatload of money. I can name the people, but I don't know those people personally. Out of our friend group, which I think we kind of, our community that we've assembled, even the post-exit founder community, a lot of the guys that have worked on serious things they've worked on for a long time, don't do it from an opportunistic standpoint of just trying to jump in, because it just doesn't always work. I mean, there's too much behind the scenes, as you know. So when you make the announcement that Novele is raising whatever amount of Series A, or there is a big success, I mean, it's almost 10 years behind of work, and people are going to say, well, I can do these batteries. Fuck it. Let me go do it. Let me go make some batteries.
It's funny though, because the little Web3 company that we did is, that was, I think, the first time in my life that I ever did something purely to make money.
Right? And you didn't.
And you did not.
How does that happen?
And I didn't. I know. That's the funny thing. And I didn't make any money.
That's how it works. Yeah.
But at least, we went through the cycle. We built it. We raised a little bit of money. The market crashed, and then we sold it. So it's not like it was, it's a good little, short story in the big novel of my
It is a good story. Yeah.
Short life.
Yeah. So, AJ, in terms of like Novele right now, you have a external CEO. You have CEO and another like sort of management and team. What's your involvement now? Are you like fully on that, or like?
I work on everything that I need to. I work with our supply chain team. I work a lot with our engineering team because the product really is my creation. Right. Yeah. It's, and I literally designed it, I designed the modules, I designed, everything. And it's really been fun to bring in.
So if we have any complaints about the product, we can send it to you.
No. That's the CTO's job now. But it's great. It's really great to see, because I worked on during those 2 years from when COVID hit to when I brought on Charles. I basically re-engineered the entire product. Like I had the opportunity to fix everything that was wrong, and also because of the supply chain constraints that we were now under, I had to change some stuff. But it's been really rewarding to kind of see like all these amazingly talented engineers get their hands on this thing and go like, this is pretty good. Like we changed some stuff. We obviously DFM'd everything. But now we're dealing with the, where is the proper place to ramp our manufacturing? The cost structure between very low volume hardware manufacturing in the US versus Asia is still challenging. So that's what I spend a lot of time there. I'm not that involved with investor stuff anymore, but I do get called in from time to time again, just to kind of, as Charles likes to say, sell the sizzle, which is fun. Because as entrepreneur, one thing I've just despised doing, which you guys probably do as well now, which just comes with the territory of being entrepreneur, is raising money. And every time I set out on something that I have to go and raise money, I start.
I'm sorry,
but you're really good at it.
I absolutely hate it.
You're really good at it. I actually don't think I'm very good.
I'm a weirdo.
I think my entire, I think to summarize everything, I think my entire career has been a messy middle because I constantly go, why am I doing this? Right? Why do I keep putting myself in this position? Like, I feel like I've been raising money for 10 years straight, right? Like, that's what it feels like when I look back on everything. And eventually, maybe someday I'll wake up one day and go, I don't want to do this anymore, and
not today, baby. Not today.
Not today. It's not today. And starting this new mobility thing, I keep calling it. I'm being a little coy on what we're doing here, but like,
so coy.
It's the most capital intensive endeavor I've ever done, which is the total antithesis of what I just complained about. So that's the messy middle.
Entrepreneur. I mean, geez,
that's the messy middle. The real interesting thing here is you both know I'm expecting my first child in let's just say imminently. It's supposed to be 3 weeks, but it could be tomorrow. And
it's the first child that you know of. So
yeah, the first other than no, I'm not gonna tell a joke. But the mindset, we'll see how the mindset changes now, right? It's, do you really want to continue down this path of being an entrepreneur? Because when anytime someone comes to me and says, I really want to start a company, the first question I ask them is, what's your pain threshold?
Yeah.
Because the companies that survive, the founders that I think we would say are successful are the ones that persevered and didn't give up.
Yes, and I think everybody's got a unique story to tell. Really appreciate your story, AJ, which I know intimately, considering we've started companies together. And I think as we look at it from these messy middles, and yours is a unique one because of the continuation of Novele. You've got the new mobility company, which you're not going to talk about now, but at a future podcast, you will definitely walk us through what you're working on. We would love to hear about it and how capital intensive of it. But I think what's interesting is there are some entrepreneurs that they try a bunch of things and one of them hits. So maybe it's 2-3 year sort of stints on different projects or companies, and those work. Or you have entrepreneurs like yourself who, have spent, 8 years plus, even longer on a particular company. And it's so cool to see. It's really fascinating to see the life of it and how you breathe the life force into it, even though you're going through a perpetual messy middle. Teddy, you want to take one last question, and we'll ask AJ to give us a quote that he didn't know that he had to do beforehand?
I was about to ask about a quote on the perseverance topic. Do you have any favorite, books or quotes solely, or just like a philosophy that you believe in and something that you can share with our listeners?
Ironically, hold on here.
Okay.
Just picked this up the other day.
He's got a lot of books there. So,
I got a lot of books. But this is actually creative inspiration by Van Gogh. And
wow.
I've just been kind of reading through here, I'll pick this up throughout the day and I'll just read something. And sometimes it's it doesn't make any sense. Other times it is actually pretty relevant to what we do. So here's one, right? I feel that my work lies in the heart of the people, that I must keep close to the ground, that I must delve deeply into life and must get ahead by coping with great cares and difficulties. And I actually think that sums up, the way us entrepreneurs have to kind of go through life. And everyone should go and get this book. I'm just kidding.
Do we have your affiliate link?
So. Yeah, you can. Yes, my affiliate is the Metropolitan Museum of Arts. No, but I think, thank you. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully I'll be invited back.
Definitely.
You will be.
Thanks.
Good.
Thanks, everyone.